All right, welcome back. Number 18, CYSA plus 18 weeks of awesome practice exam questions that we're going to go through. Deep dive into 5 questions. Let's get started, shall we? Question number 1, a cybersecurity analyst reviews the following transaction log for potential CHD. Do you remember what CHD stands for? Exposure. Which action should the analyst take to ensure compliance with PCI DSS requirements for cardholder data? What do you think? What do you think about this one? We have our transaction log. We see the date. We see the time. We see the order. We see the customer name, the credit card number, expiration date, and of course the status associated with it. So what action should the analyst take to ensure compliance with PCI DSS requirements for cardholder data? A lot of people sometimes ask, they're like, wait a second, do I really need to know all of PCI DSS? No, you don't need to know all of it, but you do need to know some of it. Enough to make you dangerous, enough to where you should be able to look at something like this and identify very quickly, where the problem is, what you should not be allowing in your system, right? What you should be doing, okay? Let's dive right into this. Shall we? Without further ado, let's start with D. Mask the last 4 digits of the credit card number in the logs. Possible. That would only give us the first 4 digits, the 4111. So yeah, that might be acceptable. C, encrypt the entire transaction log for added security. I like encrypting logs. I really do, but usually when we do a transaction log, we want the data, right? And so I like C. I really do. But does it make sense? Maybe. B, redact the credit card expiration date to ensure privacy. We could do that. We could redact the expiration date. Would it matter? I think is the real question. Would it matter? Based on what we're saying here, would that actually prove anything? I'm going to go ahead and say no. I'm going to go ahead and say let's get rid of B. I feel like B is probably the easiest one to get rid of. Let's just get rid of that one right off the bat. And then we have A, mask the first 12 digits of the credit card number in the logs. We see that the second 4 and the third 4 are masked. We see the last 4 and we see the first 4 are not. So I think that's a clue, right? Should we do that? All right, so that leaves us A, C, and D. Let's get rid of C. Let's get rid of C right off the bat and encrypt the entire transaction log for added security. If we do what we're supposed to, you don't need to encrypt it. There's no reason to, because there's no data on there that actually is going to provide sufficient information for an attacker to do anything. And so it doesn't really make sense that you would need to encrypt it. Could we do it? Yeah. But if we did what we were supposed to do in the first place, we wouldn't need to. And so it really comes down to A and D. Do we want to mask the last 4 digits of the credit card number, or do we want to mask the first 12 digits of the credit card number, or in this case, the first 4? And so which one is it? Well, it's going to be A. It's going to be A. We're going to mask that 4111. We're only going to show the last 4 digits of the credit card number. That's it. That's all we're going to show. That's all of it. And so our answer is actually going to be A. I know. I think a lot of people were like, oh, yeah, I remember this. This was actually a pretty easy one, I think. Come on, slide. There we go. Mask the first 12 digits. There we go. All right, question number 2. An analyst has deployed a SOAR. Do you remember what SOAR is? Platform to automate response actions to recurring incidents. What is the primary advantage of using SOAR playbook for phishing incidents? What's the primary advantage of using this SOAR playbook for phishing incidents? And we can see on our playbook, we can see detection incident, phishing attempt. We can isolate the affected endpoint. We can action notify the user, action create incident ticket, and then status playbook completed successfully. And so we see this SOAR, this automated process coming into play. First off, what does SOAR stand for? And then secondly, what is the primary advantage of using this SOAR playbook for this phishing incident? What do you think? What do you think on this one? As always, if you need more time, go ahead and pause that video. Go ahead and pause it. We're going to jump right into it. All right. So an analyst deployed a security orchestration and automated response platform to automate response actions to recurring incidents. What is the primary advantage of using the SOAR playbook for phishing attacks? Let's start with A. It ensures immediate manual intervention by security personnel. Possibly. I mean, we created a ticket, and so as soon as we created a ticket, it kind of streamlined that process, and so it could 100% provide manual intervention right away. I mean, that's definitely an answer that we could utilize. B, it allows for a rapid automated response of recurring incidents. Again, another great answer, right? It allows for that rapid automated response to recurring incidents. I like this one. I really do. I think B is a good answer. Is it better than A though? I don't know. That's a good question. C, it enables user involvement in every incident response action. No, it actually does the reverse because it's automated. And so it doesn't need to have user involvement for every single incident. And so C, I think it was like an easy one to get rid of. D, it reduces the need for endpoint security tools. Does it? Does a SOAR reduce the need for endpoint security tools? I mean, if you think about it, because it has an automated response, can it get rid of some of those security endpoint detection? Maybe security endpoint security tools? Not just detection, but maybe some other tools? Maybe it doesn't get rid of detection like an ADR. Maybe it gets rid of something else, which would streamline the process. And so we got A, B, and D are all valid answers. All decent answers, I think. Which one is going to be the most correct, though? Let's get rid of D. It reduces the need for endpoint detection or endpoint security tools. I keep on wanting to say detection. No, it doesn't. SOAR does not need or does not reduce the need. It doesn't. That's not something SOAR does. And so yeah, I kind of like you. So D is not a good answer. D is not a good answer. That literally means it's either A or B. Does it ensure immediate manual intervention by security personnel because we automated the primary functionality just by freeing up our personnel to get to it very quickly? Or does it allow for a rapid automated response to recurring incidents? Well, if you said B, I have some really bad news for you. You don't have to keep studying. You don't have to keep studying. You've got it right. It is 100% correct. It allows for rapid automated responses. It does not ensure immediate response. It doesn't. It'll get it to it quicker, but that doesn't mean it's going to be an immediate manual intervention. That means it could sit in the queue for like 4 or 5 hours because it's not a critical. It's just a phishing attempt. And so it would 100% maybe stay there for a while before anybody even saw it. And so B is going to be the best answer on this one. It really is. There you go. Question number 3. A security analyst uses OWASP to scan a web application for security vulnerabilities. I love OWASP, by the way. It's one of my favorite tools. What should be the first step the analyst takes in response to the scan findings? What do you think? We see our ZAP scan report. We see cross-site scripting. Risk is high. We see missing security headers. Risk is medium. And SQL injection risk is high. And so we see 2 highs and a medium. What could be our best answer? What do you think on this one? Our first step, what is the first step the analyst takes in response to these scan findings? What do you think? Let's pause the video if you need more time. Let's get into this. A, report all findings to regulatory authorities. Okay, I can't see that ever being a case. Let's just get rid of A right off the bat. That is such a bad answer. Such a bad answer. We're not going to report our findings to the authorities. We're not China. So no, that's not going to happen. B, prioritize remediation of high-risk vulnerabilities like cross-site scripting and SQL injection. That could be a possibility. I mean, they're definitely high on their list. So yeah, I mean, that's a definite possibility. C, implement security headers to reduce medium-risk vulnerabilities. Would we do the medium risk before the high risk? Would removing the headers solve our cross-site scripting or SQL injection platforms, right? If we cure one, would it have a compound effect on that? Would it? I mean, that's a decent question, because if we got rid of the missing security headers, could we, by removing those security headers, or I'm sorry, not missing them, but adding those security headers, could we fix our cross-site scripting or SQL injection platform, our vector for attack? If so, C is a good answer. And then D, run another scan with a different tool to confirm the findings. I feel like that one's an easy one to get rid of too. OWASP is going to provide us a thing. Matter of fact, we often use multiple tools to find things that other tools don't find. We're not going to use another tool to discount the findings that one tool found. That's not something we do. Okay, so it's got to be between B and C. Are we going to implement those security headers? And if so, will it potentially fix our other issues? Or are we going to prioritize the remediation of high-risk vulnerabilities? What do you think? If you answered B, you'd be correct. Because C, not a thing. Not a thing. The implementation of the security headers is not going to stop cross-site scripting or SQL injection. B is going to be our correct answer on this one. 100% B. There we go. All right, question number 4. An analyst reviews firewall logs for suspicious activity and notices the following log. Which of the following conclusions can the analyst make based on this log? We see our firewall log with some date and timestamps. We see the same source IP. We see the same destination port. And we see the same action allowed. So basically, the only thing that's changed is the time. Okay. A little bit weird. I'm usually used to finding something else different with the logs. But what do you think? Which of the following conclusions can the analyst make based on the log provided? Very interesting log. Seeing how the only thing that changed really was about 40 seconds, maybe 40 to 50 seconds between each one. Maybe. We see 15 plus 20, that's 35 seconds. And then, 50 seconds? So not a lot of time between these different firewall logs, all from the same source, all the way to the different destination port, or same destination port, I should say. If you need more time, go ahead and pause the video. Let's get into this one. An internal user is attempting to access an unauthorized resource. Well, if you know the difference between private and public IP addresses, you know that A is not correct. Because that is a public IP address, not a private IP address, which means I don't think so. B, a scheduled maintenance task is occurring on port 3389. I'm going to go with no. Because the source IP is, again, external. And since it's external, not really something we would do, right? We normally don't do maintenance tasks from an external IP. I mean, I guess you could, but again, I don't think so. I don't see that one, right? No. And there's no indication of scheduled maintenance, right? Do we see this? And it even says suspicious activity. And this specifically says maintenance. So B, I feel like we can discount B. B is an easy one to get rid of. That leaves C and D. A firewall is blocking malicious traffic as intended, or A, a brute force attack may be occurring on RDP port 3389. What do you think on this one? It's going to be either C or D. Well, if you know firewalls, if you know my take on firewalls, if you've ever been in one of my classes in firewalls, you know my big harp is that firewalls by themselves do not block malicious traffic. That is not something they do, right? They block traffic from IPs, right? But they don't block malicious traffic. They don't care the type of traffic unless there's a normal standard firewall does not care. All it cares about is whether or not you're allowed access to that specific port or that protocol. That's all they do. They're an access control list. That's all they are. And so D, a brute force attack may be occurring. 100%. 100%. D is going to be our correct answer on that one. It's going to be D. D is correct. There we go. All right, question number 5. A company discovers a data breach that affects customers' data. A company discovers. Excuse me. The company is located in Europe, and the breach impacts EU citizens. According to GDPR, which of the following should the company do within 72 hours of identifying a breach? 72 hours. I feel like this is somewhat of an easy one. Nice way to finish off the 5-question gambit today. What do you think? What do you think on this one? Let's jump right into it. Without further ado, if you need more time, of course, pause the video. A, we could report the breach to the relevant supervisory authority. Well, we could do that. That is something we could do. 100%. Doesn't make sense for GDPR. Is that something we're required to do? B, notify affected customers via email. We can notify all of our customers, hey, there's been a breach. Is that something we might do? Could be. C, we can begin an internal investigation and keep records. I don't feel like that's a valuable one. GDPR is all about privacy, right? And so I don't feel like that's a good one. I feel like we get rid of C right off the bat. D, issue a press release to inform the public. Oh, I mean, we could do that instead of notifying our customers via email. We could just do a press release, maybe, and then we're taking responsibility for it. That might be a good tactic to utilize. Is that something we could utilize? Instead of notifying our customers via email, we could issue a press release. I feel like that might not be a bad idea. So it really comes down to A, B, or D. I feel like we can get rid of the D. I feel like issuing a press release to inform the public, probably not something we need to do. Not a requirement of GDPR, right? We are not required to do that under any form. And so it really leaves A or B. Report the breach to relevant supervisory authority or notify affected customers via email. And And so I think it really depends on the question, because a company discovers a data breach that affects customer data. The company is located in Europe and the breach impacts EU citizens. According to the GDPR, which of the following should the company do within 72 hours of identifying the breach? You probably guessed B. And I would tell you be incorrect. Why is B incorrect? Because unless it poses a high risk, we are not required under GDPR to notify the customers within 72 hours. We are, however, required to report the breach to the relevant supervisory authority. That is part of GDPR. And so A is going to be our correct answer. If you found this useful, I would appreciate that thumbs up as always. Until next time, next week, we will see you again. I'm Dr. K.